Let's get to the first question. You ready, Jeff?
I'm ready.
Let's get Divine 15 says, what is the deal with secular music? People make it seem like you only have to listen to gospel music. What is your advice when it comes to listening to music? Do it have to be just gospel?
I mean,
you want me to go first, or you want to go, Jeff? I see it's on the tip of your tongue, my brother.
Well, I actually have a personal testimony with this.
Go ahead, bro.
When I first got saved, so several things happened. I was attending the University of Houston. As you know, that I went there before you and I went to college. I was there for a semester. That's where I got saved. I was living with my aunt and uncle. They were gracious enough to allow me to come down and live in Houston. But when I gave my life to the Lord, the reason that my aunt knew that I gave my life to the Lord was that she found all of my secular CDs in the trash.
Wow.
Just to clarify, no preacher and no person told me to do that. But when I was saved, the Lord spoke something to me very specific. He said, if my music puts you in my presence, whose presence do you think you're in when you listen to theirs?
Yeah.
And that shook me. Now, just to clarify, so I did not know, but my grandmother, which is my aunt's mom, when she got saved, she was an alcoholic, her and my grandfather, and they gave up alcohol on the same day at the same time without even knowing it in two different parts of the place where they were living.
Wow. Wow.
They both started a coffee shop Bible study and everything, but one of the things they did is they threw away all their CDs, all their secular music. And so I threw away all at that time I had rap and rock and roll, and then I had R&B because I loved Brian McKnight. And so I went to several of his concerts, as a matter of fact. But I threw away the rock and the rap because I knew they were talking about sex and drugs and rock and roll, right? So I knew that as a Christian, I wasn't supposed to listen to that. But I continued to listen to R&B, and I'll cut this short, Ezzy, so you can cut it.
No, you're fine, bro. You're fine.
So I continued to listen to R&B until one day I was at ORU. It was shortly after I met you, Josh.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord, I was listening to Brian McKnight, and the Lord told me his definition of love is not mine. And it shook me, and I went and took all my R&B CDs, and I love Brian, and I prayed for him for years, actually, to come to the Lord. So just to clarify on that, I have actually literally prayed specifically for Brian McKnight to come to the Lord. But I went and threw away all those CDs. So here's what I'll say. I'm not going to judge you in the music you listen to, but I will say this. The closer you are to God, the further from the world you will want to be.
That's right.
And I think the music when Josh and I were younger, see, there's a spirit behind it. Yeah. And that's the part that you don't know about, that when you're listening to certain things, you're thinking, I'm just enjoying myself. But there's a spirit behind it that is operating in witchcraft. And a lot of it comes out of certain people practicing witchcraft, conjuring up spirits and bringing those sounds, not even just the lyrics, but the actual sounds that are conjuring up spirits. So I'd be very careful. I'm not saying you can't listen to Christmas music and stuff like that. I do that all the time. And I'm not saying that you're going to go to hell for that. I would just say that it's probably, for me personally, when I listen to worship, I realize how little I am and how big he is. And when I listen to secular music, it makes me feel big and God small. And I just say it like that.
Well, basically, same thing as what Jeff is saying. We have to understand that we must not be ignorant of Satan's devices. Yes. Satan operates in the subtlety. He operates in the innocence. And music is one of those things that invades. Music is one of those things that invades the conscience. You can go into Walmart, go into Target, you can go into any store. And when a song plays, it doesn't ask for permission to come into your soul. Next thing you know, 5 minutes after you done walked out of the store, you're singing the song now. You see? And that the enemy understands the impact of music. And many people will look at secular music or even Christian music. The enemy knows that most people are not mature enough spiritually to discern. See, most of us are not at a place of devotion for our discernment to be developed. And if our discernment is not developed at a level to decipher between what's Holy Spirit inspired and what's satanic or human inspired, then then you will give clearance because you think of the innocence. You think of there's nothing wrong with that. There's always something wrong when it's done from the devil, right? But most people don't understand the layers of the impact of tones, the impact of sound, and the impact of words. And when you understand that witchcraft operates both in the music and in the words, then it should put you in a place where you say, I'm going to increase my fellowship with the Holy Spirit. Because oftentimes people have, like Jeff said, an initial moment of deliverance, but as life goes on and trials come, they may begin to entertain those things again. So what you have to understand is that fellowship with the Holy Spirit, love for God, growing in discipline and devotion to Him will enhance your discernment, even in certain Christian songs. There are certain Christian music, quote unquote. See, secular music and sacred music is different based upon the source and the authorship of the music. Right? If the source is God, that's a sacred music. Anything else, even from Christian artists, that is from the human side or the twisting of scriptures, those are just as worse, if not worse, than songs that are blatantly against the things of God. So to answer your question in detail, says what is the deal with secular music? The deal is that it makes a deal with you without you even knowing. What it does, it invades you, right? People make it seem like you can only listen to gospel music. Well, if you're of the gospel and your goal is to share the gospel, then you should only be influenced by gospel things. Now, I don't want to get so black and white with this because Jeff even said about Christmas music. There's nothing wrong with technically music itself, because even non-Christian music like Christmas can be clean. But everything boils down to the clearance of the Holy Spirit. And unfortunately, Jeff, most people are in the babe or in a non-converted categories of Christendom. Therefore, they are not mature or wise enough to be able to discern if this music is okay. Now, what is your advice when it comes to listening to music? Number one, you have to understand your body is a vessel. Your soul is still being renewed while the Holy Spirit embodies your spirit, man, right? You do not want to listen to anything that's going to hinder the Spirit of God flowing through you. Right. Because of the impact of music, you have to understand what is the agenda of that music. Exactly. What is my application from this music? Yep. Because technically people listen to music for certain seasons and actions. I'm sure people going to rob a bank don't listen to classical music. I'm sure people who want to make babies are not listening to worship music. Right. People have a select soundtrack for the season they're in. And if you're not seasoning the things of God, you're going to lose your saltiness. So it's best to make sure you first, before you even take our advice on this, you have to look inside yourself and ask yourself, am I in deep fellowship with the Lord to even be mature enough to determine what's good and what's bad? Right. And like Michelle Miller says, she says, music that glorifies God, does it give God glory? Right. Are the words and the tone and the temperament of the music embody the characteristics of God? Nothing wrong with music that I'm sure that's just talking about love for your wife. I'm not saying to say you got to listen to Christian music for the love with your wife or husband, but you got to make sure that it's talking from a pure love and not lust. Exactly. So I could ramble a long period of time, but basically it's just best to pull from your fellowship with God. And I say that loosely because most people are not mature enough spiritually to do so. So it's best for us as preachers to say, hey, stay away from certain music because until you grow maturity with God to be able to discern, even in Christian music, what is good for you to listen to. But the devil is in the music. Some theologians say, and some people say that he was the angel of music. And if you were the person of that, then your greatest tool will be that.
And just to end on that, look at the lives of the people who are in secular music.
Yeah.
Look at their lives. Almost every single one is divorced, alcoholic, drugs, miserable, because the stuff that they're surrounding themselves with is hurting them on the inside. So it looks like we got some good questions.
All right, Jeff, listen. Oh, so we got topics. Michelle Miller says, can we talk about accountability?
That's good.
Guys, what's your thoughts on tribal music? I'm not sure what tribal music.
I
think I know what tribal music is. I think Maverick City music. I'm not sure. I just heard about them literally a week or two ago, so I don't know anything. My wife says discernment is a great topic, but I will look into that for you.
I think I know tribal, and I like one of their songs, but I don't know enough about them personally. Like I don't know
exactly.
I don't know the doctrine behind that church. I just know they have some good worship songs, but yeah, I don't know enough. Maybe we can look.
My wife said that's good. Even the beats are demonic. People don't understand how demonic the beats are.
Exactly.
Like, life is about rhythm, and if we can get you in a certain rhythm state, don't you know that music puts you in a trance? Certain sounds puts you in a trance. They need certain sounds and certain beats to get you so in a trance. I won't say like a trance like you sing, but in a trance-like state where the message and the agenda of the music can get into your soul. It's deeper than just listening.
Yep.
Corey says, how do I know when God is ready for me to leave a job? I'm so ready to get a new